A healthy boy suddenly landed in hospital with acute hepatitis after a few months of drinking bottled water advertised as good for your health. And sadly, that wasn't the only case. Many people believe bottled water is cleaner, safer, a notch above tap water. But is it? The bottled water industry, worth billions, isn't selling purity. It's selling an illusion. They slap on words like alkaline, detox, ionized, as if the bottle itself graduated from a wellness retreat. Meanwhile, some brands contain PFAS, those forever chemicals linked to cancer and liver failure. Others contain more than 10,000 microplastic particles per liter. And let's be honest, most bodies over 60 don't have the same clearance rate they once did. If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type "interested" in the comments. And I will give you a heart. As someone who follows public health closely, I used to believe bottled water was the safer option too. Then I read the testing reports, and the picture changed fast. Some of these bottles might as well have warning labels. In this video, I'll break down 5 bottled water brands you should avoid if you want to protect your kidneys and immune system. I'll also give you 2 safe brands, and more importantly, show you how to choose the right type of water so you never fall into this trap again. If at any point you're thinking, "Blimey, I've drunk gallons of this stuff," don't worry. Just stick with me to the end, and type the word water in the comments so I know you're here for the straight truth. Now, let's look at what the industry promises, and what it's really doing. I bet every one of us has picked up a 10-pound bottle from the supermarket at some point thinking, well, it must be cleaner than tap water. Especially as we get older, we hear about aging pipes, chlorine, bacteria. So many people switch to bottled water thinking it's the safer option. But is that actually true? In 2024, the bottled water industry in the US alone brought in around $50 billion. That's more than coffee and soft drinks combined. The average American drinks roughly 170 bottles a year. Older adults drink even more because they are worried about weakened immunity, poor liver function, and the dreaded tap water. Here's the part nobody talks about. What you imagine is pure water often isn't much different from lightly filtered tap water. Some bottles contain bacteria, microplastics, hormone-disrupting chemicals, heavy metals. And many companies are not legally required to disclose proper independent testing or where the water actually comes from. You could be drinking mystery juice for all they care. The danger isn't one bad bottle. The danger is small exposures, every day, for 5, 10, 20 years. That's when problems like metabolic disorders, insulin resistance, kidney impairment, and liver toxicity show up. And after 60, your liver and kidneys are no longer operating at factory settings. Every little chemical has to be processed, filtered, and excreted, and that workload adds up. PFAS, arsenic, microplastics. They sound distant, but they are sitting in the bloodstream of millions. A significant amount comes from bottled water. This industry thrives on 2 things, fear and faith. They take your fear of tap water and sell you a shiny solution. But a beautiful bottle doesn't guarantee a clean interior. I'm not saying all bottled water is bad. Some brands do things properly and transparently. But if you're choosing water for your health, at the very least you deserve to know which ones quietly harm you. Let's get into the first brand, a name that caused one of the biggest water-related health scares in recent years. Number 1, Real Water, the alkaline brand. In March 2021, something happened that genuinely rattled the bottled water industry. A string of mysterious acute hepatitis cases appeared in Nevada. Children ended up in hospital. Adults were left with serious liver damage. One person didn't survive. And when investigators compared the cases, they noticed the same detail running through all of them. They had been drinking Real Water's alkaline product. The problem became so serious that the FDA got involved. Not a gentle tap on the wrist. A full emergency investigation and, eventually, a national recall. This wasn't a tiny local issue. It was widespread enough for the government to say, "Stop drinking this immediately." Real Water was sold as some kind of miracle health drink, promising negative ions, natural alkalinity, and liver detox support. It sounded great on paper, especially to older people trying to improve their health without relying on medication. The marketing was confident. The science behind it, however, was practically invisible. No real explanation of the process. No proper publications. Just vague health claims dressed up as facts. According to legal documents and related reports, the alkalization process may have involved chemicals like hydrogen peroxide. Used improperly, these can cause chemical toxic hepatitis, meaning the liver cells aren't damaged by a virus, but by direct chemical injury. In younger people, the liver has a bit more resilience. After 60, things aren't as forgiving. The liver doesn't detoxify as quickly, doesn't produce proteins as efficiently, and the enzymes involved in metabolism slow down. Once the liver becomes inflamed or injured at that age, everything connected to it starts misbehaving. Blood sugar, cholesterol, hormone regulation, digestion. You can be eating well, sleeping properly, taking your medications, and still feel awful because your liver is quietly drowning in stress. I've seen older adults who were perfectly stable suddenly develop chaotic blood sugar and cholesterol levels after taking questionable supplements or health drinks. They didn't change their lifestyle. Something else changed inside them, and the damage appeared almost overnight. This real water case wasn't a minor blip. It showed how fragile the body becomes after 60 and how quickly damage can spread when the liver is under attack. And as worrying as that is, this was just the beginning. Because the next name on the list belongs to one of the biggest companies in the world, a brand nearly everyone recognizes and many people trust without thinking twice. Number 2, Topo Chico, owned by Coca-Cola. A lot of people pick Topo Chico as a healthy alternative to fizzy drinks. No sugar, a crisp bite, a refreshing taste. It feels harmless, almost sophisticated, the sort of drink you choose when you've finally decided to be good. Especially for older adults trying to cut back on cola or squash, it seems like the perfect daily drink. But this is one of the bottled waters I'm most cautious about, because in independent testing Topo Chico ranked at the very top for PFAS contamination. PFAS, those forever chemicals that were once used in non-stick pans, waterproof jackets, and food packaging, are now found in drinking water. They don't break down. They don't leave the body. Once they settle in, they're yours for life. In a 2020 Consumer Reports test, Topo Chico showed 9.76 parts per trillion of PFAS, the highest out of the 47 bottled waters tested. The company later reduced the level to around 3.9, which sounds like progress until you realize health experts recommend staying under 1. Even that 1 is a stretch for older adults whose kidneys and liver no longer clear chemical pollutants efficiently. This isn't the sort of thing that harms you after one bottle. The trouble comes from daily exposure. PFAS disrupt hormones, interfere with insulin signaling, drive up cholesterol, and over the years increase the risk of diabetes. They strain the kidneys and liver because these organs must constantly attempt, and fail, to remove them. And if you're over 60, the margin for error is thin. The body simply doesn't detox the way it used to. As if that wasn't enough, in 2025 Topo Chico faced another problem. A recall across 5 U.S. states due to contamination with Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Healthy people might fight it off. Someone with weaker immunity, chronic illness, or older age may not. This bacterium can trigger urinary infections, lung issues, and in unlucky cases, life-threatening complications. What frustrates me is how clean, crisp, and safe these bottles look from the outside. Bubbly water, pleasant branding, a few trendy labels. But once you actually look at the test results, the story changes. A lot. And Topo Chico is not the only clear, refreshing, harmless-looking option that turns very concerning when you lift the lid. The next brand is found in supermarkets everywhere, and tens of millions of families drink it thinking it's the safest choice because it's backed by a global corporation. But as you'll see, that trust doesn't always match reality. Number 3, Nestlé Pure Life. This one is everywhere. Entire pallets stacked in supermarkets, family homes, offices, school events. It's cheap, it's convenient, and it carries a familiar corporate name. That combination makes people assume it must be safe. Many older adults pick it because it tastes neutral, causes no immediate issues, and seems like a solid choice when you're trying to avoid tap water. But behind the clean label, the reality isn't so reassuring. In 2018, a global investigation by Orb Media and the State University of New York tested bottled waters from across the world. Nestlé Pure Life was one of the brands found to contain extremely high levels of microplastics. Some samples tested showed more than 10,000 particles in a single liter. Not visible chunks. Microscopic fragments you can't see, smell, or taste, but they enter your body with every sip. People heard about this back then, raised their eyebrows, and many forgot. What I keep asking is simple: since 2018, what has actually changed? From then until now, Nestlé has not been forced to release a clear report showing reductions in microplastics, nor have they made a transparent public commitment to improve. So the honest question is, how do you know what you're drinking today? Microplastics don't just pass through like undigested fiber. They can cross the gut barrier and enter the bloodstream. Once there, they settle into the liver, kidneys, and fat tissue. If you're over 60, your immune system is weaker, your filtering capacity is lower, and the body is less equipped to handle foreign particles. This makes long-term accumulation far more likely. Microplastics trigger chronic inflammation, interfere with hormonal balance, worsen oxidative stress, and have been linked to problems that many older people already struggle with: unstable blood sugar, high cholesterol, joint pain, fatigue, digestive issues, and cardiovascular strain. They build up silently. You don't feel them. You don't see them. But the body does. And if you're thinking, all right, I'll avoid that and just buy the cheap water from Walmart for convenience, then the next brand is exactly what you need to hear about. Because the bargain option can sometimes come with a hidden cost far greater than its price tag. Number 4, Sam's Choice, Walmart's own bottled water. If you've ever shopped at Walmart in the US, you've seen it. Big stacks of it. Very cheap. Easy to grab. And for many older adults, it feels like a practical option. Clear water, familiar brand, no odd taste. Job done. Why overthink it? But once you look at the testing, the picture changes completely. In California, samples of Sam's Choice were found to contain trihalomethanes, THMs, at levels that exceeded the state's safety limit. These chemicals are byproducts formed when chlorine reacts with organic matter. They appear in tap water at times, but they absolutely should not be present at high levels in bottled water that's marketed as pure. According to the Environmental Working Group, some samples recorded between 21 and 37 parts per billion. California's limit is 10. That means some bottles were more than 3 times over what regulators consider acceptable. Now, here's where it becomes especially worrying for anyone aged 60 and above. THMs don't just enter the body when you drink them. They can be absorbed through the skin when showering or bathing. They have been linked to bladder cancer, liver damage, hormonal imbalance, and reproductive issues. And while younger bodies can sometimes carry that load for years, older liver and kidney function simply isn't the same. This is the part that frustrates me. Those concerning samples were taken in California. But Walmart sells across the entire United States. If the quality fluctuates in one state, what confidence should anyone have in the bottles sold in Texas, Florida, or Illinois, especially when Walmart does not fully disclose its water source or publish independent tests? And that's the real heart of the problem. It's not just the contaminants. It's the secrecy. Because if a brand refuses to show you where the water comes from or how clean it actually is, they're asking you to trust them blindly. When it comes to something you drink daily, sometimes more than tea or coffee, blind trust is the last thing you want. Cheap water can come at a very expensive cost later in life. Liver stress, kidney strain, chronic inflammation. But because the bottle looks harmless, people assume all is well. It's not always the case. And if you're thinking, all right then, maybe the premium option is the way to go, something in a glass bottle from a high-end store, the next story will probably surprise you. Because the next brand is sold at Whole Foods, in glass, with elegant labels and comforting words like spring water. Yet the testing tells a very different story. Number 5, Starkey, sold at Whole Foods. If you've ever walked through a Whole Foods aisle and grabbed a sleek glass bottle of water thinking, well, at least this one's safe, trust me, you're not alone. Everything about Starkey looks reassuring. Glass bottle. Spring water. Premium price. It's the kind of brand older adults choose because it feels like the safer, cleaner, more responsible option. But here's the part most people have never heard. Starkey was found to contain arsenic, not in tiny, irrelevant traces, but at levels uncomfortably close to the US legal limit. The EPA allows a maximum of 10 parts per billion. Starkey's recorded levels ranged from around 9.49 up to 9.88. On paper, that's still within the law. In real life, it's towing the line so closely you'd wonder whether someone was using a ruler to see how far they could push it. The question that always comes to mind is simple: Why is a premium brand dancing so close to the maximum limit of a known toxin? It's either terrible luck or careful calculation, neither of which is comforting when the substance in question is arsenic. Now, arsenic doesn't behave like sugar or salt, where your body processes it and sends it on its way. It accumulates silently over months and years. It settles into the liver, kidneys, lungs, and skin. It chips away at the immune system, weakens filtration, and raises the risk of cancers and cardiovascular issues. You won't feel it after a week. You might not feel it after a year. But long-term? It leaves its mark. And here's the sharper edge of the story. For people over 60, the body is already working harder to process everyday toxins. The liver doesn't detox the way it used to. The kidneys don't filter as efficiently. Even small exposures can add up far faster and do far more damage. I've seen older adults with no alcohol intake, no medication misuse, and no obvious lifestyle risks end up with liver and kidney problems. And when you trace the cause, it often isn't something dramatic. It's something boring. Something ordinary. Something they consumed every single day without ever imagining it could harm them: water. That's why I always say choosing water shouldn't be a guessing game. Not at this age. Not when your organs are relying on you to make choices that protect them, not punish them. The good news is that there are safer brands, ones that take quality seriously, have nothing to hide, and still respect the basics of what water should be. Clean. Clear. Tested. Transparent. Number 1, Mountain Valley. After hearing about PFAS, microplastics, arsenic, chemical byproducts, and questionable bottling practices, it's natural to wonder whether any bottled water is worth drinking. The answer is yes, but the list is short. Mountain Valley is one of the very few brands I can recommend without hesitation, especially for people over 60 who need something gentle, clean, and reliable. Mountain Valley isn't new. There's no trendy packaging, no wild claims, no ionized superalkaline detox miracle water nonsense. They've been bottling water since the late 1800s, and they still follow the old rule: take it from a natural spring and leave it alone. The water comes straight from a protected spring in the Ouachita Mountains in Arkansas. No chemical treatment. No flavoring. No lab tinkering. It passes through natural rock layers for centuries, picking up minerals along the way. Those minerals aren't added artificially, they are part of the landscape. This matters. Because when you're over 60, the body responds better to balance, not extremes. The pH of Mountain Valley sits around 7.3 to 7.7, slightly alkaline, but not enough to irritate the stomach or interfere with medication absorption. Many older adults with reflux or indigestion find this range easier to tolerate. It contains natural calcium, magnesium, and potassium too. Not enough to replace supplements, but enough to support bones, blood pressure, muscle function, and the nervous system. All without overwhelming the kidneys, which is crucial at this stage of life. And then there's the part one always emphasize, sometimes to the point of sounding like a broken record: the bottle. Mountain Valley uses glass. It's heavier, yes. It's less convenient, absolutely. But it avoids the biggest hidden problem in bottled water: microplastics and chemical leaching from plastic bottles sitting in warm warehouses or delivery trucks. You can drink the cleanest water in the world, but if it's stored in thin plastic under heat, you're essentially drinking whatever melts off the bottle too. Glass avoids that entirely. It protects the water all the way from the spring to your kitchen. Mountain Valley isn't the only trustworthy option out there, but it's one of the rare brands that stays consistent across taste, transparency, and testing. And if you're serious about protecting your kidneys, liver, hormones, and immune system, consistency matters more than anything else. Now let's look at the second clean, dependable choice, the one that comes from a long-respected spring source with equally transparent testing. Number 2, Castle Rock. Castle Rock might not be as globally recognized as the big corporations, but in terms of actual water quality, it stands far above many of the familiar names. The source is Shasta Springs in California, an area known for naturally clean, light mineral water. And unlike a lot of companies, Castle Rock doesn't rely on vague marketing. They publish independent test results, they show their mineral content plainly, and they don't hide behind complicated wording. This is the kind of brand older adults often appreciate once they give it a try because the water is gentle. Not heavy. Not metallic. Not overly alkaline. Simply clean. The pH ranges from about 6.9 to 7.55, almost neutral. That's good news if you're over 60 and often dealing with reflux, indigestion, or medication sensitivities. Water that's too alkaline can interfere with digestion. Water that's too acidic can irritate the stomach. Castle Rock sits comfortably in that middle zone where the body doesn't have to work overtime to balance anything out. The TDS, total dissolved solids, is usually around 60 to 100 ppm. That means it carries natural minerals but doesn't overload the kidneys. It's enough to support the body, not enough to stress it. This matters because as we age, the kidneys lose efficiency. Heavy mineral waters can be hard work, especially for people with high blood pressure, diabetes, or early kidney decline. One thing that stands out is what Castle Rock doesn't add. No fluoride. No chlorine. No electrolyte blend. No gimmicks. Just spring water, bottled in clean glass. This one detail might seem small, but it's a major win. Glass protects the water from heat, sunlight, and microplastic shedding, the things that quietly ruin even the best water stored in plastic. Castle Rock also feels refreshing without being sharp or sparkling. It's one of those waters you can drink regularly without feeling bloated, acidic, or heavy. And while it's not as easy to find as the mainstream brands, it's one I genuinely rate highly for anyone trying to avoid chemical exposure and support long-term kidney and liver health. Now that we've covered the two brands worth using, let's move into the part most people overlook. Because choosing bottled water isn't just about the brand name. It's about how you read labels, how you store water, and how you avoid common mistakes that even healthy people make without realizing. How to choose, use, and store bottled water properly after 60. Water seems simple. You drink it every day without a second thought. But once you're past 60, the body becomes far more sensitive to what goes into it. The liver slows down. The kidneys filter less efficiently. Hormones shift. And the reality is this: the wrong type of water, used daily over years, can quietly cause bloating, fatigue, digestive trouble, inflammation, and even blood pressure swings. Not because water is dangerous, but because not all water is equal. So let's break down how to choose it properly. Start with the label. When it says spring water, that usually means it comes from a natural underground spring and contains natural minerals. Purified water typically means tap water that has been filtered, sometimes aggressively, and then had minerals added back in. Mineral water means the minerals are naturally occurring. When you see names like alkaline 9.5, ionized, nano-oxygenated, or other fancy descriptions, don't assume they're healthier. Most of that is marketing. There's no solid evidence that these types outperform clean, neutral water when it comes to actual health benefits. After the label, think about transparency. Does the company publish its water source? Do they show independent testing? Do they offer quality reports, certifications, or even simple clarity about what's in the bottle? If they don't, then you're drinking trust, not water. And trust doesn't protect your liver. Then consider the bottle itself. Glass is always better if you're trying to minimize chemical exposure. Plastic bottles, especially thin ones, release microplastics and chemical residues when exposed to sunlight, heat, or long-term storage. You won't taste it, but your body will deal with it. After 60, that extra workload becomes noticeable in ways people often dismiss as aging. Next, think about pH. You don't need extreme alkalinity. A pH between 6.5 and 7.8 is perfectly fine. Too alkaline and your digestion can go off. Too acidic and your stomach can rebel. The body loves balance, not bravado. And finally, TDS. Total dissolved solids. If you don't have kidney issues, 100 to 300 ppm is a reasonable range. Enough minerals to support your body. Not enough to strain it. If your TDS is extremely low, the water may taste flat and offer little support. If it's extremely high, your kidneys do extra work. Now, a few practical questions people often ask. Should you drink alkaline water? Not necessary. There isn't evidence it's superior to clean, neutral water. And if you take medication, too much alkalinity may even interfere with absorption. Is filtered tap water better than bottled? Often yes, if you filter it properly. A good RO plus activated carbon system removes chlorine, fluoride, PFAS, pesticides, and bacteria. After that, store the filtered water in glass or stainless steel. Is it safe to drink water from a bottle left in a hot car? No. Heat speeds up chemical leaching. Even a few hours in a warm car can cause plastics to release BPA, microplastics, and antimony. People underestimate how much damage that small habit causes, especially after 60. Should you stockpile bottled water at home? Ideally not. Home storage rarely matches factory conditions. Sunlight, warmth, and proximity to cleaning chemicals all degrade bottled water. It's better to buy enough for 1 to 2 weeks at a time and keep bottles in a cool, dry place. Do alkaline ion machines or hydrogen water devices work? Honestly, no convincing evidence. Most benefits come from comparing them to unfiltered tap water, not clean water. A simple filtration system is more reliable and far cheaper. Choosing water might seem like a minor thing, but after 60 it becomes part of your long-term protection plan. Consistency matters more than hype. Clean matters more than clever labels. And stability, for your kidneys, liver, hormones, and digestion, comes from simple decisions repeated daily. Now that we've sorted the practical side, let's move into the final section. The most common questions people ask about bottled water and the answers that actually matter. Let's finish with the questions people over 60 ask the most. These aren't theoretical. They're the everyday concerns that decide whether your water is helping you or quietly wearing your body down. The first question is simple. What's the safest option if you genuinely have to drink bottled water? The truth is your best bet is a reputable spring water in a glass bottle with publicly available test results. Nothing extreme. Nothing overly alkaline. Just clean, balanced water with no added chemicals, no disinfectants, and no hidden surprises. A neutral pH between 6.5 and 7.8 is comfortable for the stomach and won't interfere with medication. If glass is too inconvenient to carry around, keep your home supplying glass or stainless steel and only use plastic in rare cases. The next question is whether boiling tap water makes it safe. A lot of people still believe this, especially those who grew up boiling water for every cup of tea or coffee. Boiling does kill bacteria and viruses, but it doesn't remove fluoride, chlorine, PFAS, heavy metals, or chemical byproducts. And even when boiling does help, most people don't do it long enough. Tiny bubbles are not a boil. The kettle must be roaring. If you're using a pot, the water needs to be truly simmering for 1 to 3 minutes. Anything less and you're only warming it. Another question I hear constantly is whether plastic bottles left in a warm car become unsafe. The answer is yes, and more than you'd expect. A closed car in sunlight can reach temperatures over 60 degrees Celsius. At that point, thin plastic bottles begin releasing BPA, antimony, and microplastics into the water. These chemicals disrupt hormones, stress the kidneys and liver, and slowly raise long-term cancer risk. People in their 20s might cope. After 60, the body clears toxins slowly, so the effects build up far quicker. If a bottle has been in a hot car, even for a few hours, don't drink it. Then there's the question about buying bottled water in bulk. Technically, bottled water can sit for months or even years. But your home isn't a controlled warehouse. Bottles stored on the floor, near sunlight, next to detergents or cleaning products, or in warm corners of the house can degrade. The plastic softens. Chemicals leach. The taste changes. And the risks increase. It's best to buy just enough for a week or two and keep it somewhere cool, dark, and dry. And finally, the machines. Alkaline ionizers. Hydrogen generators. High-tech water gadgets with 4-figure price tags. People buy them with good intentions, but the science simply isn't strong. Most benefits come from comparing them to untreated tap water, not properly filtered water. If you already have a decent filtration system, RO combined with activated carbon, you're doing far more for your health than any ionizer can. Save the money. Your kidneys won't thank the ionizer, but they will thank the cleaner water. At the end of the day, choosing water is not about trends or marketing. It's about protecting the organs that protect you, especially after 60, when every small decision makes a bigger difference than it used to. Clean water won't transform your life overnight, but it will protect you quietly, consistently, and faithfully. It's the kind of long-term investment the body appreciates years later. If anything in this video has made you rethink the water you drink, let me know. Type water in the comments so I know you made it to the end and you're someone who actually wants the truth, not the sales pitch. And if you've ever had a strange experience with bottled water, share it. It helps more people than you think. If you found this useful, pass it on to someone who needs it. And if you want more content based on data, not marketing, hit subscribe. Your support genuinely matters.